this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make a little pair of earrings to match the bracelet that I've recently made. And this is that bracelet. And we're just making a little Christmas party set. So these little earrings will match this cute little bracelet. And we're going to go ahead and look and see what we need to get started on this project. Okay, for this project you should have out on your beading mat 26 3mm round beads. I'm using a cream colored glass pearl for mine. Then you will need 2 colors of 4mm bicone crystals. You will have to select which color you want to be your main color. I am using emerald and cyan. These are both Swarovski 4mm bicone crystals. Now, my main color is going to be green, and for that I'm going to use 18. My secondary color is going to be the cyan ruby, and I will need 10 of them. Of course, you can switch the colors around, it doesn't matter, just have 18 of one and 10 of the other. Then you'll need a 15-0 seed bead and 11-0 seed beads. I'm using galvanized gold Tohos, and they are Starlight. You will also need 2 ear wires. I'm using these little gold tone French wires. You will need 8-pound Fireline. You'll need a couple of arms lengths, and you'll use just a little over 1 arm's length for each earring, just to make sure you have plenty on your needle to start with. And you will use a size 10 beading needle. So let's go ahead and thread just a little bit, a couple inches over 1 arm's length onto the needle, and let's start with our first earring. Thread 1 arm's length of Fireline, 8-pound, onto your beading needle, and then pick up 4 of your bicone crystals with an 11-0 seed bead in between. So you will pick up a bicone, an 11-0, a bicone, an 11-0, a bicone, and an 11-0, like this. Then you will bring this down to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, just enough to hold on to. Then from the tail side, you will sew back up through all of the beads that you just put onto your thread. Hold on to the tail and the beads and pull the needle through until you make a little circle with your beads, like this. And then sew back through all of the beads again. To finish up the circle, tighten it and keep your thread from pulling through. Just sew through all of your beads again. Once you have done that, go past where your tail is and go through the crystal past the tail into the little 11-0 seed bead between, just like this. And this is what you should have. Now you're exiting this little 11-0 seed bead. We are going to make 2 units of right angle weave from this 11-0. So we are going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads onto our needle. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side of the little 11-0 and pull the beads down into a little right angle weave unit like this. Then we're going to sew up into the top bead on our unit. So we'll go through the side bead here and then into the top bead. Then we will pick up 3 more 11-0 seed beads onto our needle. We're coming out of this side of the 11-0, we'll go into the opposite side. We'll pull the 3 beads down into a right angle weave unit. And then we will sew through this one to the top bead, and then we will do 1 more unit of right angle weave on this one. The rest will all have 2. This one will have 3. So I lied in the beginning. We will make 3 units. So we're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side right here. Just like this. Turn it so I can get my hands to it. And now I have to sew all the way back down to my first unit. That will also reinforce the units that I just made. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of this little bead right here. I'm going to sew into this one here. Then I'm going to sew around the entire unit, the top bead, the side bead, and then the bead that connects with the second unit I made. I will go through it just like this. And then I will go down through the side bead of the second unit, and I will go down into the connecting bead with the first unit I made right here. And then I will sew down the side bead of the first unit I made. And then I will go into the 11-0 between the crystals. Right there. That should reinforce everything and make the units fairly neat, like this. Now we're going to go through the crystal and we're going to go into the next 11-0 seed bead. Just like this. We are going to make 2 right angle weave units now. So we will pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side of the 11-0 we are exiting from and make a little right angle weave unit like this. Now we are going to sew up the side and get into the top bead of this unit so that we can make 1 more unit. We are now exiting this little bead on top. We're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side of the 11-0 and we are going to pull our new beads down into another unit like this. Now we're going to turn and we are going to sew up the new unit. We're going to sew all the way around the unit that we just created. We're going to go into the connecting bead of the first unit. Then we're going to sew into the side bead of the first unit. And we're going to sew down into the bead between the crystals. Then we're going to sew into the next crystal. And we are going to do the same process again. So we will pick up 3 11-0 seed beads onto our needle. We're coming out of this bead. We're going to go into the opposite side of the bead we're coming out of. I'm going to get us just a little closer because I cannot tell on my little picture how well you can see this. So we're going to do this one just a little closer to make sure that everyone can see this well. Now I've made my first unit. I'm going to go up through the side bead. I'm going to go up through the top bead. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and make another unit. So I'm coming out of this side. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 11-0 I'm exiting from. Now I'm going to sew around this entire unit and then sew back down into the bead I started in. So I'm going to sew through the side bead, the top bead, this little side bead here, and then into the connecting bead with the first unit right here. Then I'm going to sew back down into the unit I started in, back down through the bead between the crystals, just like this. Now I'm going to go into the crystal and the next 11-0 seed bead. I'm going to pull my working thread aside and I am going to snip off my tail just to get it out of the way. Now we're going to create 2 units of right angle weave in our last 11-0 seed bead. just like we did for the others. So pick up 3 11-ohs. We're exiting this side. We're going to go into the opposite side from which we're exiting and pull our little unit down. We're going to sew up into the top bead so that we can make our next unit here. And that's what that should look like. Let's pick up 3 more 11-oh seed beads. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side. And we're going to sew all the way around. Ow, I just stabbed myself. That's great. We're going to sew all the way around this entire unit. Until we get into the connecting bead here. Then we're going to sew down. Actually, we're going to stay right in this connecting bead right here. This is where we're going to start our next step. So what we will do, actually let's go ahead and sew down into our next unit just to secure this very bottom unit. I want to make sure that everything is nice and secure. So we're going to go ahead and sew down into the bottom one. We are going to go into the next crystal and the 11-oh, exit the 11-oh in the next unit here. This happens to be the long tall unit that we made, our first one. So we're going to go up into the little side bead here. So we're in this bead between the crystals. We're going to go into the side bead, and then we're going to go into the top bead of the very first unit right here. And we're going to start our next step from here. So what we're going to do is this is what it looks like, so you can see. We're exiting here. We're going to pick up a 15-oh seed bead, a green bicone crystal, an 11-oh seed bead, a green bicone crystal, and a 15-oh. Just like this, we're coming out of this little middle 11-oh seed bead right here. We are going to, let's go real close so you can see. So we're coming out here. We are going to go into the middle bead, the connecting bead of the 2 units of right angle weave in the next unit, just like this. We're going to pull these into an angle, like that, just a little corner. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to pick up a 15-oh seed bead, a bicone crystal, an 11-oh seed bead, a bicone crystal, and a 15-oh seed bead. This is what you should have on your needle. Now you're coming out of this little middle bead. We're going to go into the next 2 units of right angle weave and go into the connecting bead between the 2 units right here. Pull the crystals down, and again pick up a 15-oh seed bead, a bicone crystal, an 11-oh seed bead, a bicone crystal, and a 15-oh seed bead. We're coming out of the middle here. We're going to go into the next middle of our next 2 sections of right angle weave. This one's kind of squished, so I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. There we go. And go into my middle bead here, right here. Now I'm going to back off a little bit. Since you can see where I'm at, I'm going to back off so I stay in frame. Now I'm going to pick up a 15-oh seed bead, a bicone crystal, an 11-oh seed bead, a bicone crystal, and a 15-oh seed bead. I'm coming out of this little 11-oh here. I'm going to go into the 11-oh I started in. And I'm going to exit, I'm going to go through the 11-oh I started in, the 15-oh in front of the crystal, and through the crystal, just like this. And then we are going to hop up into, that's right where my tail is, so we're going to hop up into this little 11-oh seed bead, right here in the corner. And we'll start our next step from here. This is what you should have so far. Now what we will do is pick up a 15-0 seed bead. We will pick up one 3mm round and a 15-0 seed bead, like this. And we're coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead between the crystals. We are going to go into the right angle weave unit sticking out between the two units here, right here. And we're going to pull this down. Now we're coming out of this little right angle weave unit here. This is a little thready here, and that's okay. As we go around and finish our embellishments, that should tighten up and you won't see the thread. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead and a 3mm round, a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm round, and a 15-0 seed bead, just like this. Now, you're coming out of this little end right angle weave unit right here. You are going to go into the 11-0 between the bicones here and pull like so. And then you will pick up a 15-0, a 3mm round, a 15-0, a 3mm round, a 15-0, a 3mm round, and a 15-0. So this time you will have 3 pearls and 4 11-0s alternating between each other, like this. You're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead between the crystals. You're going to go into this very bottom unit of right angle weave right here and pull. Now I'm going to turn this so I can get my hand to it better, and I'm going to get in a little closer so you can see. I'm going to do a little fringe stitch here. So we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Then we're going to pick up a little 3mm round pearl. Then we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. And then we're going to pick up a red bicone crystal and a 15-0 seed bead. This is what you will have: 15-0, 3mm round, 15-0 bicone, 15-0, just like this. I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to drop these beads down, just like this. I'm going to go around the 15-0 seed bead and back up into the bicone crystal, into the 15-0 on top of the bicone, and into the pearl on top of the 15-0. The last 15-0 I am not going to go through. I'm going to pick this up, I'm going to pull this thread through, and I'm going to arrange it. Now, we have a little dangle here. We came out, we're going to get really close here. We came out of this little 11-0 right here and started on this side of it. Now we're going to have to go back into this side of it. So what we need to do is pick up a 15-0 seed bead like this, and we're going to go back into that little 11-0 on the very end of the right angle weave unit that we started in, and we're going to go into the opposite side that we started from. And we're going to pull this little 15-0 seed bead. You have to arrange it. It doesn't want to go where it's supposed to go. We're going to pull this 15-0 right next to the other 15-0. And now we are exiting the 11-0 we started in, just like this. Then we will pick up a 15-0 seed bead. We will pick up our series of 15-0s and 3mm round beads. So you will pick up 3 3mm rounds and 4 15-0s alternating like this. You're coming out of this little 11-0 after making your fringe stitch. You're going to go into the 11-0 between the bicone crystals right here and pull a little loop like this. Now we're coming out of this 11-0. We need to make this side match this side. So we're going to pick up our 2 3mm rounds with 3 15-0s alternating. So we will pick up a 15-0, a 3mm round, a 15-0, a 3mm round, and a 15-0. We're coming out of this little 11-0 between the crystals. We're going to go into this 11-0 in the original little right angle weave unit that we created in our first step. So we will pull this up, and then we will need to go up into our last step here. So we will pick up a 15-0 seed bead, a 3mm round, and a 15-0 seed bead, and we will come up into our little 11-0 seed bead between the crystals. We'll go into the crystal, and we'll go into the 15-0 behind it, and then the 11-0 in the center right here. Now we want to exit this 11-0. We want to go through this 15-0 and this 11-0, but not the 15-0 on the other side of the 11-0. And just pull all of this into place. So now we are coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead in the center, and now we're going to sew up into the original units of right angle weave that we created in our first step. We're going to avoid that little 15-0 still, go up into the arm of the unit of the right angle weave, then we're going to go up into this middle connecting right angle weave unit. We're going to sew until we get to the very top here. Now we are in the top bead of the right angle weave of the third unit. We are going to pick up 6 11-0 seed beads, or I'm sorry, 15-0 seed beads. Pick up 6 15-0 seed beads. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8. I'm getting carried away here. So we just need 6 15-0s like this. We're coming out of this side of our last little unit here. We're going to go into the opposite side and pull them down into a circle. Then we're going to sew through all of these beads again. So sew through all these 15-0s. And you can do it as many times as you feel like you need to do to get this little round circle on top to add your ear wire to. Now, I'm just going to do it once because of the length of my video. So then I'm going to sew back down into the right angle weave. So I'm in the main unit right here, and then I'm sewing down into the side arm, into the connecting bead. So I'm just sewing down my right angle weave, following my thread path, not crossing, making any thread stick out, and then I'm just going to go right into this center 11-0. I want to go into the 15-0 and the crystal on the other side of it too, and I will exit this crystal. So all I've done is sew down my right angle weave, and then I'm exiting the crystal here. I went through the 15-0, I went through the crystal. Now I'm going to just sew around this entire top portion of my earring. So I'm coming through the beads here. I'm going to go ahead and capture a little half hitch knot as we sew around the top portion here to strengthen it and give it some form. We are just going to make a couple half hitch knots so we can tie off as we do this. Now I made my half hitch knot. I'm going to continue sewing through my outside beads here. I'm going to go through my 15-0. It's hard to get back in there once you get out. And then I'm going to sew through. Now I'm not going to sew down through these very bottom units here because I'd have to go through my fringe and it's just a pain, and this part will retain its shape because it's just kind of a swag anyway. So this, we will just go, once we get to this bead here, we will go into the 15-0 and 11-0s and into the crystal, through the center of the right angle weave, through the 15-0s and the crystals on the bottom here. So basically we're just sewing through all the outside beads except for the ones on the very bottom here. And the reason we're doing this is just, like I said, to give this a little bit more form, to make it a little firmer, because it's a very lightweight design and I don't want it to fold or do anything strange. So I'm just giving it a little bit more strength. And you can catch as many knots as you want as you do this. I just don't feel that I need that many, so I'm just going to come through. I'm going to come through the top again, through all these beads, and exit this crystal on the side here. And it's a little tight, so I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to straighten everything up. I'm going to cut my thread off right here and leave just a tiny bit so I can melt it into the beadwork. That kind of knots it off. And then I am going to grab my ear wire. Let's back off a little bit. A bit more. I'm going to open my ear wire. So you can see, I'm going to figure out which side is open here. And I'm going to open it. It's from side to side like this. I am going to slide it onto my loop that I made with my 15-0s. I'm going to close my ear wire. And this is what it looks like. Here's the partner to it. And then you have some cute little Christmas earrings to match the cute little Christmas bracelet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hope you make these. They're very quick, easy, fast, and you can get quite a few out there to sell for Christmas parties or whatever. Have a good night and have a great day and be creative. Bye-bye.